Cruise news time. And well, Carnival Cruise Line, they're fresh out of the huddle. They've just called their latest play, and this play involves partnership with a pro sports team, a popular one at that. And we've got updates coming out of Israel concerning cruise ships and which cruise ships are not going to go there. And also, I got a troubling story about cruise insurance that involves a Carnival cruiser stranded in Indonesia after getting injured. It could happen to all of us. Cruise news and my views. Let's talk about it. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Lido, Loca. I'm your host, Tony, here with the latest cruise news and views for your face. Are you ready? Are you ready to be kept up with everything going on in cruising? Well, I'm going to do that for you today. I'm going to encapsulate it in, I think, about 4 stories. Cruise news story number 1, Carnival Cruise Line out with the announcement today that they are the proud partner of the New York Jets, baby. In the press release, there's, of course, a lot of rah-rah, sis-boom-bah cheerleader language. The broad idea is this. Carnival's been making an investment in New York. They recently introduced the new to Carnival, Carnival Venezia, kicking off their Carnival Italian style, cruising right out of that Manhattan cruise terminal. So it makes a lot of sense that they partnered with a New York team. But why football? Well, the press release tells us this. Proudly known as America's Cruise Line, Carnival's new partnership with the New York Jets builds on its alignment with the most popular sport in America. I always thought that baseball was America's pastime, but maybe from a viewership perspective, the football is the winner. Just selfishly, let me just drop last night that I watched an NHL game. That's the National Hockey League, where the Nashville Predators finally got themselves a victory in Game 2 of the season, dismissing the Seattle Kraken. And I really wanted to root for the Kraken because they have an anchor. They have an anchor on their jerseys, which makes them almost a cruise team. How about that? Let me ask you this. Are you a football fan? Are you a New York football fan? Are you a New York Jets fan? I know somebody who's definitely happy about this. Joe Namath. I don't know any other Jets. Joe Namath is happy with that big fur coat. Certainly a proud moment for Carnival. Good to see that they've got those marketing dollars. How much more is the internet now? Is that too sassy for America's Cruise Line? They don't care what I say. But no, I like to see these partnerships. I like to see cruising get broader exposure to audiences where new cruisers are just waiting to be plucked from obscurity and put on a fun ship and start living that cruise life. Start contemplating things like, do I use a packing cube and what's an upside down pineapple mean and how much do I tip somebody? Look, there's a lot of people out there that don't know that life. We'd love to have them in there, and hopefully this partnership with the NFL, with the New York Jets, will get more people from those seats into the seats on the cruise ship. How about that? Cruise news stories number 2 and 3. Let's swing back around to the serious events going on over there in Israel. And it's a challenging time. It's a challenging time for people that want to get back home. It's a challenging time for people that want to leave home. And I told you yesterday about 800 Israelis that were repatriated. They were on an MSC cruise ship, the MSC Musica, and then they were transported by a smaller cruise ship back to Israel. The name of that smaller cruise ship is the Crown Isis. And look, just dropping people off for MSC was not the end of their story. While they were there in Haifa, Israel, they loaded up with 1,300 people looking to leave Israel. I'm not sure where these 1,300 people were from, but they loaded up onto the Crown Isis, and then they were dropped off in Cyprus where they could fly to their, wherever they wanted to fly. So this Crown Isis is doing a lot of work over there, bringing people, taking people, that kind of thing. And of course, this whole idea of people trying to get out of there just kind of lends to the gravity of what's going on over there. We have a lot of cruise lines that are in impacted, sailings being canceled out of there. And we have one cruise line that's canceled the rest of 2023, at least any of the stops there in Israel. Cruise lines that have been impacted in Israel: Azamara, Royal Caribbean, Celebrity Cruises, MSC Cruises, Princess Cruises, Norwegian Cruise Line, Celestial Cruises, and Oceania Cruises, Holland America Line, TUI Cruises. The one cruise line that is canceling the rest of its 2023 Israeli season is Royal Caribbean. Royal Caribbean's Rhapsody of the Seas has been home ported there in Haifa, Israel. And well, of course, the situation makes them unable with any certainty to run cruise vacations out of the coast of Israel there. And so they've just made the decision. They're canceling Rhapsody of the Sea sailings for the rest of the year. But it'll be interesting to see how, as this conflict rages on, what's going to happen with the cruise industry. Now, we got to talk about this Carnival cruise passenger who was stranded over in Indonesia after being injured on a cruise ship. And a lot of times the gotcha moment of these stories is the fact that the person is stranded because they don't have travel insurance. Well, that's not the case in this story. In this story, the person does have travel insurance. Talking specifically about Denise Hammond. She's a 64-year-old U.S. citizen from the Commonwealth of Virginia over there on the east coast of the United States. And she went on a month-long cruise on the Carnival Luminosa to the South Pacific. Unfortunately, during that cruise, she took a fall, she broke her hip and her ankle, and she needed medical treatment. She was seen by the staff there on the Luminosa, and it was determined that they could not give her everything that she needed and that she would need to be put off at the next cruise port so that she could go to a hospital. So once they made port in Indonesia, she was transferred to a hospital in Manado. And shortly after arriving at that hospital, Denise Hammond reached out to her daughter and said, "Look, I can't get treatment here for a couple of reasons. This place is really outdated, and the medical staff here doesn't know how to treat me. I need to be transferred to another hospital." Like I said previously, she did have travel insurance. It hasn't been revealed which company she had the insurance with. But for whatever reason, she struggled to work with the travel insurance company to get this, evacuation, this change of location done. And it got to such a dire point that the family opened up a GoFundMe page because their assumption was that they would need $40,000, $60,000 to get Denise transferred from the hospital that she was at to a hospital that could treat her. So she was on the cruise ship for 3 days from the time that she was injured. And it sounds like she was at this hospital there in Indonesia for another several days, 3 or 4 more days, trying to work out the insurance. Fortunately, this has been worked out. The insurance company that she's working with, sending someone to help her with the medical evacuation. It does sound like that she's going to get the care that she needs and that she will be able to return to the United States. But the story highlights a concern that many of us have and that many of us have never encountered. What happens when you get injured? How does the cruise insurance that you paid for work? There are some instances, some circumstances out there that you may encounter that your travel insurance would require you to pay for your service first and then be reimbursed. And look, I'm always preaching get travel insurance, and I'll continue to preach that because the financial calamity that you could incur if you don't have any form of insurance while you're traveling is life-changing, but it doesn't mean that you're not going to have some financial challenges in the moment when something occurs to you while you're traveling. It's not an easy row to hoe, and I personally never hoed the row myself, but you've got to understand when it comes to your travel insurance provider what they pay for up front and what they do not pay for up front. I always get asked the question, who do I use? I have an annual plan with Allianz. The main reason I picked them, they don't pay me. I'm not endorsed by them. I don't get anything for saying Allianz. It was just a company that we discovered early in our travels. I like the way they lay out their information on their website. I like the different coverages they have where you can pick and choose the coverages, and that's why I chose Allianz. But practically, like I said, I have never hoed the row. So I don't know if something happens where I have to come out of pocket for and what they will automatically pay. I do like that they have a 24/7 call center where if something happens to you, no matter when it happens to you, you can call and get engaged. I know I have read through the medical evacuation information that they have, and in my mind, I do believe that, you know, that they're going to take care of that, get that engaged without you having to pay like $100,000 or something like that. But again, I'm no expert on it, and so please don't take anything from what I'm talking about to be gospel. But yeah, you gotta do that work. But at the minimum, this story reminds us that you need to know pretty quickly how to engage your travel insurance. And if you can get that in your mind before the crisis moment, like understand your policy before you go traveling, know what phone numbers you need to call, know who else you need to contact in the event of an emergency. If you can get all that settled in the non-stress moment, then practically the stressful moment should be easier. I am glad in the situation that this passenger is now able to get the help that she needs and move on to the next part of her healing. But man, I'm also glad that we know her story so that we can experience things, learn things without having to go through it ourselves. As always, I would invite you to put your travel insurance story in the comments so that we can learn from you. And hopefully you've learned something from me today. If you find value in the show, maybe consider subscribing. Run your finger, your mouse over that like button. I hope you all have a great weekend. This is Tony for Lido, Loca, and until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Bye. Cruise News.